First, the USDA's Justice for All non-discriminatory statement, which simply states that all persons must be treated equally without regard to their race, color, national origin, sex, religious creed, disability, age, political beliefs, or reprisal or retaliation for prior civil rights activity, and that our institution provides an inclusive space for all. For more information on the And Justice for All statement, please visit the USDA's website.
My name is Theo Banks. I'm a nutrition educator at Rutgers Cooperative Extension in Camden County through the Department of Family and Community Health Sciences. Today, I'm actually not going to be talking about eating healthy. I'm going to be talking about physical activity, which is another important part of health and wellness. But I will also still be doing a cooking demo, and we'll be making a citrusy kale salad. So let's jump into our recipe. Today, making a really tasty kale salad, and I'm going to share some tips about how to prepare this really quickly and how to make this a really tasty and filling meal. So our ingredients today is, the recipe calls for 8 cups of chopped kale. I'm only using about half of that, but I got bagged chopped kale here. The one thing you want to keep in mind when you're using bagged kale is that sometimes it will have large pieces of the stem in there, pieces like this, and these pieces are going to be pretty bitter and hard to chew, so you might want to remove these. One benefit of getting a bundle of kale and ripping the leaves yourself is that you can remove all of those pieces, but bagged kale for the most part usually doesn't have those large pieces in there. You just have to pick through it a little bit. The next ingredient is going to be a can of fruit in 100% fruit juice. I'm using pineapple in 100% juice today. And one thing I added is a cup of chopped apple as well, just to give it some variety and add another type of fruit in there. And then we're actually going to be using the fruit juice from this can here as well as a little bit of vegetable oil. And for seasonings, we have some salt and some pepper. And then as an additional topping, I'm going to be putting some pumpkin seeds on there as well. So to assemble this, it's going to be really simple. You want to wash your kale, unless you're getting bagged kale, in which case it's already washed. And you want to chop it up so it's in fine, small pieces. You can tear it, you can chop it with a knife, whatever works best. And so I put my kale in a Ziploc bag because one of the tricks that I'm going to do after I make the dressing is we're going to tenderize the kale a little bit to remove some of the bitterness from it. So we need a half of a cup of fruit juice. So I am just draining the juice from the can here. Since we're using fruit in 100% juice, there's no added sugar in here, which is a benefit. And then I'm going to add my vegetable oil right into the fruit juice. And I'm going to add the salt and the pepper as well. And then I'm just going to mix everything together. This is a quick, simple vinaigrette. Makes for a really easy, tasty, sweet salad dressing. And so what I'm going to do with this is I'm actually going to pour it directly onto the kale. And then I am going to tenderize it like you would tenderize a steak. And the reason I'm doing this is because kale is naturally a rather bitter green. It's very dark green, it has a bitter taste. And so one thing that you can do to remove some of that bitterness is you can tenderize it. If you cover it with a salad dressing, something with some oil and some acid in it as well, and then you take the time to massage the salad dressing into there, and you let it sit for a bit before you prepare it, that's going to remove a lot of the bitterness. This is a great step to get kids involved in cooking. I love making kale salad with kids because they can go to town on the kale and do all of the massaging for you. It can be really fun. So you can do this for a couple minutes, however long you would like. And then you can let it sit in the baggie for a bit, and that acid from the pineapple juice is going to tenderize it a little bit more. Another thing you can do if you don't want to go through this process is you can just make this in advance, and if you let it sit in the fridge for a couple hours or up to a day, the salad dressing is going to do a very similar process to manually massaging the kale. So I'm going to let this sit here for a few minutes, although I'm going to combine our pineapple and our apple so that our toppings are ready to go on the salad. All right, but while that is tenderizing, while it's absorbing the salad dressing, let's have a conversation about physical activity. So what are some reasons why it's important to exercise? Number one, it can help you prevent and manage some chronic health conditions. It can also help you manage your weight. It can help you sleep better. It's good for your bone health. It can provide you with energy. Exercise is really important for everyone. There are so many benefits. Everyone has some reason to get a little bit more exercise. So when we talk about physical activity is any movement that requires energy. So for health-related reasons, physical activity should be moderate or vigorous, meaning that it should get your heart rate above normal resting levels. And kids need 60 minutes of physical activity every day, and adults need 30 minutes 5 times a week, so most days of the week. Some examples of physical activity: walking briskly, running, dancing, swimming, yoga, doing chair exercises, even doing housework, things like mowing the lawn. All of these could count towards your 30 minutes of physical activity every day. So there are a lot of barriers that can get in the way of us getting the amount of physical activity that we want and we need. Thought we'd take a moment to go over them. So one barrier can be time, having enough time in the day to work in some exercise. There's also money if you don't have access to a gym or a place that you can get physical activity comfortably. Maybe you have a disability or some condition that limits your mobility. That might be a barrier for you getting enough physical activity. Maybe you just don't like exercise. Maybe you haven't found the right type of physical activity that you enjoy, and it seems more like a chore rather than something that you enjoy doing. That can be a barrier as well. And lastly, I know that quarantine and social distancing have been a barrier for me, and I've had to come up with new and creative ways to get physical activity in on a daily basis. So those are some of the barriers. Take a moment to think about which of those barriers impacts you the most, because once you identify those, you can work to try and find ways to overcome those barriers as well. There are a lot of low-cost ways to be physically active if money is a barrier for you. So for example, just getting out and walking briskly for 30 minutes a day can accomplish that goal for adults right there. You could also pick up running or jogging or even hiking, walking through parks. Cooper River Park is beautiful. I love walking through that area. Could even be a family activity on the weekends. Even just dancing would be a low-cost way to be physically active. And obviously we can't go out and dance right now, but even just a short dance session in the kitchen can be a great way to get some exercise in. You can also look up body weight and other exercise routines online. The American Heart Association in particular has a lot of great videos on their YouTube page and on their website with full exercise routines that you can follow along at home. So once you've identified some ways that you want to be physically active, once you've identified a goal of how frequently you want to be physically active, one thing that can be really helpful is creating a physical activity plan for yourself. And this can involve identifying the times when you want to exercise. Maybe you want to do it in the mornings on weekdays. Maybe you work better in the afternoons. But identify those times, and then write it on your calendar. Plan it out like you're planning out your day, or if you're planning out your meals. That can help be a constant reminder and can help you stick to it as well. It's also important to plan some activities that you like, things that you enjoy. You know, you want to try new things, to explore and find new types of exercise that you might enjoy and didn't know, but make sure that you focus on, finding things that are going to be enjoyable for you. For example, running isn't for everyone. So if you've tried running in the past and you know that it is just not for you, then you can find some other types of cardio and some other types of physical activity that you can do that don't have to involve running. If it's something that you don't enjoy, it's going to feel like a slog and it's going to make it harder for you to stick to your goal. And lastly, add physical activity to your daily routine. Adults need 30 minutes of physical activity 5 days a week, but it might work better for you if you structure it into your daily routine and do it every single day. That way it becomes a habit, it becomes a routine for you. I try and start out my days by going for a walk for 30 minutes, just walking through my neighborhood. It's getting a little bit harder now that it's really cold outside, but because I've built up that routine, because I've built a habit around it for 9 months now, it's less hard for me to get out there because I'm used to it being an integral part of my morning routine at this point. So, all right, so I think we can go ahead and assemble our salad now. Our kale has had a few minutes to massage and reduce the bitterness from the salad dressing that we made. So I'm going to pour some of the kale into a bowl, and then I'm going to top it with some of my apple and my pineapple. And then I'm going to add a sprinkling of pumpkin seeds on top of it as well. And because we already dressed the kale, it is good to go. We have our salad right here. So this can be a great recipe to meal plan. You can make a bunch of this in bulk. This can also be a great recipe to take on the go with you. You can put this in a container, you could put this in a mason jar, and you could take it with you throughout your day to have as your lunch. Nothing needs to be reheated, nothing needs to be cooked. It is all ready to go right there. So this can be a delicious recipe. I like adding the citrus, like the pineapple. I think it gives it a nice sweetness and nice tang that makes it all the more exciting. So hopefully you enjoy this recipe, and maybe you'll even try and make it at home with your family. So thank you for everyone who tuned in to this cooking demo today. The recipe has been posted in the comments and will also be posted on our page after the lesson. And we will be back next Thursday with another healthy cooking demonstration. And as always, if you have any questions or if there's any things that you would like to see us cook in the future, please write them in the comments on any of our videos. We would love to hear from you. Thank you and have a great day.